March 8, 2014. It was supposed to be an ordinary overnight flight. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, heading toward Beijing. On board were 239 people, passengers and crew, each with a destination, a story, a future waiting for them. The aircraft was a Boeing 777, one of the most advanced and reliable passenger planes in the world. At 12:41 a.m., MH370 lifted into the night sky. Weather conditions were calm. No technical problems were reported. Inside the cabin, passengers settled into their seats, some falling asleep, others watching movies, unaware that this flight would soon become the greatest mystery in aviation history. In the cockpit was Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a highly experienced pilot with more than 18,000 flight hours. Everything about this flight appeared normal, until it wasn't. Less than an hour after takeoff, something unimaginable happened. Without warning, without distress signals, without a mayday call, MH370 disappeared from civilian radar screens. It was as if the aircraft had been erased from the sky. A modern jetliner does not simply vanish, not silently, not completely. Air traffic controllers stared at their screens in disbelief. Families would soon begin waiting for arrivals that would never happen. And the world would soon ask a question that still has no answer. How can a plane carrying 239 people disappear without a trace? At 1:19 a.m., MH370 made its final confirmed contact with air traffic control. The aircraft was transitioning from Malaysian airspace to Vietnamese airspace, a routine procedure performed thousands of times every day. The final words from the cockpit were calm, professional, and hauntingly ordinary. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Moments later, the aircraft's transponder stopped transmitting. This single event changed everything. The transponder is a critical system that allows air traffic control to identify an aircraft's location, altitude, and identity. It does not simply turn off by accident. For it to stop transmitting, it must either fail catastrophically or be deliberately switched off. No emergency was reported. No warning was given. The aircraft did not descend rapidly or explode in midair. Instead, MH370 became invisible. Military radar later detected an unidentified aircraft making a sharp turn back across the Malay Peninsula, heading away from its planned route and toward the open Indian Ocean. This was not a path chosen by autopilot. This was a controlled maneuver. Investigators were left with troubling questions. Who was flying the plane? Why was the communication system disabled? And why did the aircraft change direction so precisely? From this moment on, suspicion shifted toward the cockpit, because only someone with expert knowledge of the aircraft could have made MH370 disappear so completely. The mystery was no longer just about a missing plane. It was about intent. As investigators searched for answers, attention slowly shifted toward the cockpit, specifically the man in command. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah was not an inexperienced pilot. He was respected, highly trained, and had logged more than 18,000 flight hours. By all professional standards, he was more than capable of flying MH370 safely to Beijing. But as authorities examined his background, unsettling details began to emerge. Inside Captain Shah's home, investigators discovered a personal flight simulator. On it were recorded flight paths, one of which closely resembled the route MH370 appeared to take after disappearing from radar. The simulated path led far into the southern Indian Ocean, an area known for its extreme depth and isolation. This discovery fueled speculation around the world. Was this evidence of careful planning? Or was it simply coincidence, a harmless simulation run by an aviation enthusiast? Friends and colleagues described Captain Shah as calm, professional, and deeply passionate about flying. Others pointed to political frustration and personal struggles reported in media leaks, though none were officially confirmed as motives. Importantly, no final report has ever concluded that the pilot intentionally caused the aircraft's disappearance. Yet, the possibility could not be ignored. With no wreckage, no cockpit recordings, and no confirmed crash site, investigators were left with fragments of information and a growing cloud of suspicion surrounding the cockpit. In the absence of answers, theories filled the void. One of the most disturbing discoveries in the MH370 investigation came from military radar data. While the plane had vanished from civilian radar, it had not vanished entirely. Military radar systems detected an unidentified aircraft making a sharp and deliberate turn back across the Malay Peninsula. This aircraft followed a precise route, avoiding major air traffic zones, and continued flying for several hours after its last radio transmission. This was no accident. The maneuver required manual control and detailed knowledge of aviation systems. The aircraft climbed and descended at specific points, suggesting someone was actively managing the flight, not fighting an emergency. MH370 did not crash immediately. It flew on. Eventually, satellite data provided by Inmarsat revealed a chilling possibility. The aircraft continued south, deep into the remote Indian Ocean. This region is among the most isolated places on Earth, far from shipping lanes, far from radar coverage, and far from rescue. Investigators believe the plane remained airborne until it ran out of fuel. If this scenario is true, it means MH370 was deliberately guided to a place where discovery would be nearly impossible. But who made that decision, and why? Without flight recorders or wreckage, the aircraft's final moments remain locked in silence beneath thousands of meters of ocean water. As hope faded, the search for MH370 intensified. What followed was the largest and most expensive search operation in aviation history. Multiple countries joined the effort, including Malaysia, Australia, China, and the United States. Ships, aircraft, and deep-sea sonar systems scanned vast areas of the Indian Ocean. The search zone covered hundreds of thousands of square kilometers, an area so massive it defied comprehension. For months, then years, crews battled extreme weather, towering waves, and crushing ocean depths. Each new signal raised hope, only to end in disappointment. Families of the victims watched and waited, clinging to every update. Some believed their loved ones might still be alive. Others demanded answers, accountability, and closure. In 2015, fragments of aircraft debris began washing ashore on distant African coastlines. A wing flaperon discovered on Réunion Island was later confirmed to be from MH370. But debris was not enough. No main wreckage. No bodies, no flight recorders. Despite years of searching and millions of dollars spent, the aircraft itself remained missing. The ocean had kept its secret. And with every passing year, the mystery of MH370 only grew deeper. In July 2015, more than a year after MH370 vanished, the investigation reached a turning point. On the remote shores of Réunion Island in the Indian Ocean, a large piece of aircraft wreckage washed ashore. It was identified as a wing flaperon, a critical control surface used during flight. After months of analysis, officials confirmed what many had feared. The debris came from Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370. This discovery proved one thing beyond doubt. The aircraft had ended its journey in the Indian Ocean. Over the following years, additional fragments were found along the coasts of Mozambique, Tanzania, and Madagascar. Each piece matched components of a Boeing 777. Each discovery reopened wounds for families who had waited desperately for answers. But the debris told only part of the story. There was no fuselage, no cockpit section, no flight data recorder, no cockpit voice recorder. The most critical evidence remained missing. Without the main wreckage, investigators could not determine the exact cause of the disappearance. The ocean currents explained how debris traveled thousands of miles, but they could not explain what happened inside the aircraft. The findings confirmed the crash, but they did not bring closure. Instead, they raised a darker question. If debris could be found, why not the plane itself? As official investigations stalled, the internet filled the silence. Videos, blogs, and anonymous posts began spreading a chilling claim that the wreckage of MH370 had been secretly located, and that inside the cockpit, the pilot's skeleton was found still strapped into the seat. The story spread rapidly. Headlines were dramatic. Thumbnails were disturbing. For many viewers, it felt like the final piece of a terrifying puzzle. But there was a problem. There was no photographic evidence, no official confirmation, no statement from any government or investigation authority. The claim originated from unverified sources, often citing unnamed insiders or classified discoveries. Some versions of the story describe deep-sea submersibles finding an intact cockpit. Others suggested the information was being deliberately hidden to avoid public outrage. Yet no credible evidence has ever surfaced to support these claims. A discovery of that magnitude could not be concealed indefinitely. Thousands of people from multiple countries were involved in the search. Any confirmed recovery of human remains would require official documentation, forensic analysis, and public disclosure. The skeleton story captured attention because it offered something powerful, closure mixed with horror. But fascination does not equal truth. In the case of MH370, separating fact from fiction is critical. Despite years of speculation, official investigations into MH370 have remained cautious and evidence-based. Reports released by Malaysian authorities and international investigators make one thing clear: there is no confirmed discovery of the main wreckage. There are no recovered bodies, and there is no verified finding of a pilot's skeleton. The final investigation report acknowledges the aircraft's deviation from its planned route and its likely crash in the southern Indian Ocean. However, it also states that the reasons behind these events cannot be determined with certainty due to the absence of key evidence. No blame was officially assigned. No definitive cause was concluded. This uncertainty has allowed theories to flourish, ranging from mechanical failure to hijacking, and from deliberate action to unknown external interference. What remains undeniable is this: MH370 represents a rare case where modern technology failed to provide answers. Satellites tracked signals, radar detected movements, debris washed ashore, yet the truth remains incomplete. The official position is not one of secrecy, but of limitation. Without the wreckage, investigators cannot speak in absolutes, and so the mystery endures, not because of hidden truths, but because the ocean refuses to give them back. The southern Indian Ocean is one of the most remote and hostile environments on Earth. Vast, deep, and largely unexplored, it is a place where even modern technology struggles to operate. Some parts of this ocean plunge more than 6,000 meters below the surface, creating pressure strong enough to crush steel. When investigators narrowed down the probable crash zone of MH370, they faced a nearly impossible challenge. Sonar mapping had to scan the ocean floor inch by inch. Autonomous underwater vehicles were sent into darkness where visibility is almost zero. Unlike land crashes where wreckage is scattered and visible, an ocean crash can erase evidence. Strong currents break aircraft apart, spreading fragments across thousands of kilometers. Over time, metal corrodes, structures collapse, and debris sinks into trenches never meant to be seen again. Even if MH370's main wreckage lies intact, it may rest in a location inaccessible to current search technology. Mountains, underwater canyons, and shifting sediment can hide even large objects indefinitely. This reality explains why, despite years of effort, the aircraft remains lost. The ocean does not destroy evidence quickly, but it hides it perfectly. And in the case of MH370, the sea has proven to be the ultimate keeper of secrets. For the families of the 239 people on board MH370, the mystery is not abstract. It is deeply personal. Every unanswered question represents a life frozen in time. Without bodies, many families were unable to hold funerals. Without a crash site, there was no final goodbye. Days turned into months, and months into years, but the waiting never truly ended. Some relatives refused to accept the idea that the aircraft had crashed. Others demanded that the search continue, believing that stopping meant abandoning hope. Protests were held. They can't pass. Letters were written. Governments were pressured. For many families, the pain was made worse by rumors and online speculation. Claims of secret discoveries and hidden truths spread rapidly, reopening emotional wounds with every new headline. What these families wanted was not sensational stories, but certainty. To this day, many relatives continue to advocate for renewed search efforts. They believe that finding the wreckage would not only reveal what happened, but also restore dignity to those who were lost. MH370 is often discussed as a mystery of aviation, but for these families, it is a mystery of absence, a future that never arrived.